Hello, welcome to Focus on Fantasy Romance, episode number 63, a podcast where we discuss books, genre, industry, and our geeky lives. I'm your host, Elle Klaus.
I'm ARD Clerk.
And
Electric Gatus.
And Ishabelle Tori is waving. And today we have Brenda Tetreault.
Hi.
Hi. Why don't you start by telling us what you write?
Okay, I write sexy paranormal romances with elements of horror and fantasy, meant for ages 18 and older. This is not Twilight, and it's certainly not 50 Shades of Grey, but there's a little bit of something for everybody.
So what is your first book that you released? Was that Tempted?
Actually, I go all the way back to 1998 with my very first series was the Bannock Chronicles, The Witcher Legacy. And then I published through what I didn't realize at the time was a print-on-demand vanity publisher. Yeah, I didn't know. I learned along the way. As an indie, I've released Tempted. It's the first in my Nightshade series. Yeah. So.
Okay. Can you tell us about the book?
Tempted is the first in the Nightshade series, as I said. It centers around Roman Arsenault and Sabrina Donahue. He's a half vampire, half human hybrid who owns the nightclub Nightshade. It's basically the Casablanca of the supernatural world. Humans are not necessarily fair game, but you can't coerce, kidnap, or in any way feed off of them by any nefarious ways. But a lot of the human clientele know what's going on. Sabrina kind of sort of knows what's going on. She has that sense that there's something going there. But she is basically what appears to be the pampered, spoiled socialite daughter of a couple of social climbing wannabes. Her parents are emotionally distant. They're almost neglectful, almost mentally, emotionally abusive. She does whatever she can to act out and get their attention. And she ends up in Nightshade one night with friends partying on, and she runs into Roman, and the sparks fly like immediately. And it's basically the story of the two of them and their journey as they get to know each other, fall in love, overcome obstacles. It turns out Sabrina may not be what she seems. And, that world of the paranormal, it can be a little freaky. And Roman's got to deal with the obstacles that come along and threaten both them and their romance together. So it's the first in the series, and there's several others that follow.
So we were talking a little bit before we started recording, and there was quite a few interests that you had that kind of paralleled mine. But then I was thinking, I write a lot of my hobbies into my books, like knitting. So is there anything that you really, really enjoy that you find is reoccurring in that series? Like, do your characters like to cook? Do they like to go running?
Not so much. My overall general interest falls into the wide field of pop culture. And a lot of times, if you're paying attention as you're reading along, you will find a lot of pop culture references in my books. There's references from Star Wars, and believe it or not, there's actually an almost word for word verbatim quote from Terminator in Tempted. I love dropping and peppering my books with all of those little pop culture things that I absolutely adore. Star Wars, Terminator, the Marvel universe, and Doctor Who even. So oh gosh, my latest one was Bonded, my last full-length novel of Nightshade. It was the 5th in the book, and I actually dropped a supernatural quote in there, and I couldn't believe the response when people realized what I'd done. That was pretty awesome. But as I've matured as a writer, yes, I have Sabrina, who does enjoy cooking. Mostly it starts out as a fuck you to her mother, who believes that only servants and lower class cook for anybody, including themselves. She finds it as a way of expressing her affection and love for people, and she cooks for Roman on a couple of occasions. I haven't had any heroines or heroes who are particularly fitness savvy. I've only recently rediscovered running, but who knows? The world is wide open there.
So it's going to be my turn now, and
okay.
we're going to. So first of all, shout out to Supernatural, because
yes,
I've been a fan.
Sam girl.
I've been a fan of Supernatural up until when I thought it should be over. So we won't go there. So tell me what the quote was.
How does it go? It went, driver picks the music, shotgun sets his cake hole. Oh, really, Dean?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And the Supernatural fans, as soon as they read that, they were flooding my inbox with, "Oh my God, you did it!" So,
age-old question: Sam or Dean?
Dean, all the way. Yes, I've got a thing for the righteous man.
Okay. Yep, that's right. He is a righteous man. So yes, 100% agree. Let's go to my next favorite man. So we're going to talk about Sherlock for a minute.
Oh God.
deeply in love with this story.
I've been a Sherlock fan since way back in like 5th grade when I read Hound of the Baskervilles. So, I've always had at least one Conan Doyle book or story in my library. So when Benedict Cumberbatch became Sherlock, I mean, I've seen them all. I've seen Basil Rathbone and all of them. Benedict and Martin, I'm done.
They're perfect.
They're
They're
perfect.
absolutely perfect in the role. I 100% agree.
Absolutely.
I have never had a moment like I did at the end of the season when John was standing in front of Sherlock's grave and he said, all you have to do is come back.
Yes!
One miracle. It's all I'm asking is you have to come back. Like I was sitting there, my husband's like, "What is the matter with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, my heart's going to stop. I just had a heart attack. It was so good."
Oh my God.
So yeah,
and
huge
he's
fan.
Standing there listening to this and I'm like, "Dude, just walk out. Please, just, oh God, end his suffering."
I know.
But, oh my God, yes.
Fabulous writing. I love Mycroft. I love to me, the last season 4 was the best, like emotionally devastating season with Euros and Redbeard and
Mary.
All of the things that happened in Mary. And the one line that has stuck with me, and I hope you agree, but when he looked to Mrs. Hudson and he said, "If I ever seem like I'm getting too big for myself, you just say the words to me, Norbury."
Yes.
Just Norbury. That's all you have to say. And I'm like,
yes.
Like,
see, that really resonated with me.
Yes, me too.
That really resonated with me because I can sometimes get a little egotistical, and I always tell my friends and family and coworkers, look, if I seem to be getting like a little bit of a swelled ego, please just talk me down and remind me that, I'm no better than everybody else.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a consequence. And that's the one thing. And when you're a fangirl, and I think we tend to be fangirls of a lot for many shows for the same reason. I think that it's a thread that runs through the show. So it's like this emotional connection you have with the characters.
Right.
And I think you could ask any of the girls on the panel, when you have this emotional connection to the characters or the story, then it's like you just can't get enough.
Right.
So I find myself fangirling a lot, but I keep my love. You know what I mean? Like Supernatural, my husband and I watched since season 1 aired in 2005.
Right.
We watched from that moment all the way through till we stopped watching last season. But there's a whole.
Okay, let me just say that I actually did not discover Supernatural until last year. When I was writing Bonded, I kept running across, Driver Picks the Music. And I was like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? And it would say, Driver Picks the Music, Dean Winchester. I was like, what the hell is Dean Winchester? And I Googled. Thank God for Google. Whoever invented Google needs to win the Nobel Peace Prize or something.
I mean, even my husband has cried in moments at Supernatural because they did that. They broke your heart. Like, they just broke your heart.
Oh my God. So I binged Supernatural from October of last year clear up until the mid-season break of season 12. I binged on Netflix. And I got all caught up, and now I'm all caught up with season 13. But guess what? I'm binging all over again. I just finished season 8 tonight, and my husband's starting to kind of watch it a little bit with me. He's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "This is Supernatural. And he's like, "Does the writing fall off any?" And I'm like, "No,
never." I'll be honest with you about Leviathan season. I got tired and I was ready for the happy ending. I was ready for the end because I'm like, you know what? I have 10 seasons of reruns, like Law and Order, that I can go back and watch over and over again.
I totally agree with you. But on the same token, I still stayed with it because it didn't jump the shark like Castle did.
It never did. Right.
I loved Castle, adored Castle, never missed an episode. And then they jumped the ship. I jumped the shark, totally jumped the shark. And I was like, I'm done. And so when they canceled it, I was like, okay, they should have canceled it a season ago. They never done that with Supernatural. And that's why I'm still with it. That's why I'm binging for my second time through.
When we say jump the shark, you go to somewhere that's completely unbelievable for that set of characters and that world that's been created. It's too far out. So
exactly. It actually goes back to Happy Days when Fonzie was water skiing and he jumped the shark, and that was the end of Happy Days.
Right.
So if you know anything about Happy Days, I'm old enough to actually have watched it during its original airing, believe it or not. So, yeah, I actually saw the Fonzie water skiing and jumping the shark. Yeah, so.
You said that you followed Marvel since you were young. And so we were talking before the podcast, and I told you that my husband and I am not a comic book fan. I have not read comic books. But my husband is a huge comic book fan, so we like to have intellectual discussions about comics. So in order for me to be caught up, we've been watching Comic Books Explained, which is a YouTube channel where he goes through each comic and he talks about how all the comics fit together and the storyline and all that. So background of Comics Explained. So it's where I get all my comic book knowledge that I do have. So we talked about whether or not, so on the side of Civil War, and we talked about whether or not I believe in superhero registration or not. And my husband and I have a political argument every time we come to this discussion because we disagree. He's on one side and I'm on the other. So he's, So where do you fall in the superhero?
I am an unregistered. Because, okay, I should preface this with, unless you're using your abilities to break the law, you should be unregistered. Who cares? That would be like saying, okay, you're a lesbian or you're gay. Who cares? Does that mean that we register them? Does that mean that we register all Catholics or we register all Jews? No, unless you're breaking your law. That's where I fall.
Have a very difficult time with this discussion because I cannot make up my mind.
Okay.
I feel like collateral damage for superheroes is an issue. So when I watched Superman and I saw him destroy 10 square blocks fighting Zod, I thought there went 300,000 lives in the blink of an eye because superhero beings are destroying all this.
Right.
So
and
I thought,
it paralleled
should they
9/11
be
quite a bit.
right? So so Jessica Jones at the same time. You hear like superheroes, they never stop to think about collateral damage. So I'm like, man, maybe they should be registered. But then at the same time, I'm like, dude, if an alien drops out of the sky, I want a superhero to come save me.
Right, exactly.
So I kind of don't. But so I don't know where to fall in that. It is such a large, controversial subject.
Here's my thing. My thing, especially with X-Men, you're born with it. You can't help it. It's not like something, you didn't go looking for these powers. It's just like you're not asking to be born Catholic or whatever. You're not asking to be born Armenian, or American.
The thing that scares me about superhero and mutant registration is that the government is going to know where you are at all times and who you are and what powers you have. Therefore, they can utilize you however they would like to and manipulate you however they would like to, which we see in mutant registration. Anytime you go through the X-Men mutant registration, it is the government has manipulated these people.
I see mutant registration as the Japanese internment camps of World War II.
I agree.
So, I mean, think about it. George Takei, one of our most beloved pop culture icons, grew up for a few years in an internment camp only because he was Japanese.
One of my favorite songs is when Linkin Park does the song. Mike Shinoda does the story about his grandfather who went to the internment camp during World War II. And so I think I see so much of the history in the comics. I agree. And the other thing, it just crossed my mind to ask you this, but when you have a fandom and you have a love for a fandom, do you see a lot of the same elements in your fandoms that you see in books that you love, novels that you write?
Yes.
That's how I feel too. Like Sense8, I love Sense8, and it's that inescapable connection that people have to one another, and like watching it grow or reading about it grow in front of you. Like that's what to me creates like a fandom for books or a fandom for shows or a fandom for movies.
Exactly. I mean, the reason why I love Supernatural is I grew up in I grew up with an atheist father and a Southern Baptist mother. I tend to fall along the agnostic lines. Supernatural is a lot about family, yes, but it's also about faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your family, faith in your friends, but also faith in a higher power. I grew up with that, but at the same time, with the righteous man, growing up with an atheist father, he depends on himself more than a faith in any mystical higher power. So I think that's one of the reasons why I absolutely adore Supernatural. Sherlock, I tend to be a lot emotional, a lot creative, but at the same time, I tend to look at things in a logical pattern. A equals B equals C leads to D.
That's the thing about Sherlock that if you're a true fan of Sherlock, you understand, is that he is not unfeeling and he's not unemotional. He's actually too emotional.
Exactly.
So he falls so far on the empathic spectrum that he cares so much that he has to hide it. So I think that's
right. Exactly.
With Sherlock.
When I was a little girl, one of my biggest heroes was Mr. Spock. I was a very emotional little girl. The littlest things would set me off. A beautiful phrase of music would cause me to cry. And Mr. Spock was my hero because he was so logical. He learned how to balance. And even in those rare moments that he was able to express his human side and his emotions, he still managed to keep it in check and keep it from overwhelming him. And to this day, I will watch Star Trek just for Mr. Spock, because he was my first fandom. He was my first love, because he knew how to find the balance. And I think that's the whole reason why I gravitated towards Sherlock in its modern incarnation.
Before I turn it over to Ish, do you like the new reincarnation of Star Trek?
I do. I know a lot of people who grew up Trekkies, Trekkies, Trekkers, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter. I know a lot of them don't like it. They're like, that's not my Star Trek. No, I have enough imagination and enough, I don't know what, to accept that there are more versions. I just see it as a new Star Trek in a different dimension.
Yeah.
It's Star Trek, for goodness gracious.
Right. Can't go wrong with Star Trek.
Well,
no, can't.
I happen to like the new Star Trek, what I've seen of it. I'm only a few episodes in, but I like it. I'm like you. I can definitely see the appeal of a newer version. And if you pay attention, it really does tie into what we know about the Star Trek universe. And you know what? I vaguely remember, because I was younger, but I remember when The Next Generation came out and people said the same damn thing. Well, this ain't our Star Trek. And I was like, I don't care. It's got Will Wheaton in it. But I was like 10. He was hot.
Yeah, they were having vapors over The Next Generation. And guess what? That turned out to be even better than the original.
It was pretty damn good. I actually binged that.
It really was.
Year for I watched it in order because I never did when I was younger, and I was like, holy crap, that was awesome.
Right.
All right, well, I am going to take you back to some of my fandoms from the 90s.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember the 90s. I was busy being the mom to a newborn then, so we'll see how well I do.
Xena, Warrior Princess.
Oh, gosh, I do kind of sort of remember Xena.
Oh, I named my oldest daughter Xena.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm dedicated. Spelled it with an X and everything.
My son's name is Harrison.
Totally get it. Xena, I haven't read your work yet, but I imagine you probably have strong heroines. A strong heroine just came out and kicked the living shit out of you. Wasn't really, it was, but it wasn't done to the extent that you saw in Xena. And then, there was their whole lesbian yes or no relationship, which was awesome.
Right.
But I felt Xena, it was kind of like what you said with Supernatural. Family, friends, love, the innocent. There was a struggle. So based on that, do you feel shows such as Xena, Hercules, oh God, there's several others too, that have inspired your writing?
I really didn't watch a lot of television in the 90s. Primarily because, like I said, I was the mom of a small child at the time, but I was aware of Xena and Hercules, and I do remember seeing perhaps not an entire episode here and there, but I do remember, it just wasn't catching me at the right time. It's probably something I need to go back and see, but I grew up with Wonder Woman, and yes, I know Wonder Woman is DC, and I'm a Marvel girl, but come on, it's Wonder Woman.
It's Wonder Woman. I'll give you that. I'm Marvel as well. I grew up with X-Men.
I grew up with Wonder Woman and Black Widow. I grew up with them all. So my heroines, number one, there's a lot of me in there. A lot of my insecurities and my vulnerabilities are there. But a lot of my, fuck you. I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. I'm going to do it. I think this is the way to do it, and we're going to do it my way, or you know what? Get the fuck out. You know, there's a lot of me. There is a lot of me in my heroines, you know, but there's a lot of that, you know, I can do anything. I can take on the world. And it like I said, it may not have come from Xena specifically, you know, but like I said, I was aware of Xena at the time, and I loved Lucy Lawless. I mean, oh my God, I think I had the biggest girl crush on the planet on Lucy Lawless at that time. I mean, let's face it, who didn't? You know, she had those amazing eyes and that gorgeous hair. But actually, you know, now that I think about it, I think I may have been thinking about Lucy when I wrote Sabrina, you know, for Tempted. You know, she had those beautiful blue eyes and that gorgeous black hair. And that's how I pretty much, you know, wrote Sabrina. So, yes, you know, she was there. Xena was there. Even a shadow of Xena was there. So yes.
I find that shows, books, you know, all of that, it plays off of one another, and it just takes it to the next level. You know, to me, Xena was always my baseline, and I know she affects my heroines in my story. Even if I have, you know, a heroine that doesn't sword fight, she still has it. I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Yeah. I'm gonna figure out how to at least momentarily incapacitate you so I can take care of business.
Exactly. Yes. You know, I find that there's a lot of characters, especially in the pop culture, that you lend to what we do today as authors. You know, I edit. I'm an editor for publishing, so I read a lot.
Right.
And I read a lot, and I see a lot of books that come in with a lot of pop cultures and heroines, and I sometimes snigger because it's very obvious to whom they're referring to a lot of times. Right. I mean, I everything from, you know, Xena references all the way to oh goodness, X-Files, Gillian Anderson.
Dana Scully.
Dana Scully, yes. Dana. And I'm just like, I love X-Files. I never.
Oh my God! I was so happy when they started bringing the show back, and you know they've got audiobooks.
Do they?
My husband and I went on a road trip to Delaware, and we went to Ohio and back on a road trip in a car, and we listened to X-Files audiobooks, and it was amazing. I love X-Files. My husband, one of the best birthday presents he got for me was it's a box. It's a long box, and it says X on the label, and it's nothing but the entire run of the original X-Files.
Awesome.
Do you not think I just fell in love with him just about this much more that day?
That's what my husband did with the Xena collection. I was like,
Yeah, Dana, I always adored Dana because she was that skeptic that I always wanted to be. You know, there was always that part of me that always, you know, I'm always willing to give that benefit of the doubt, you know, or that you know, anything's kind of possible. You know, that dewy-eyed stargazer, innocent.
But sometimes you wanted to smack the shit out of her because even when it was in front of her, she was like, well, I didn't see it. And I'm like, wham, bitch, look.
But at the same time, you kind of want to be like that, just completely be able to just separate all of your emotion and just look at everything with empirical scientific data. And I can't do that.
My thing was like, woman, why have you not slept with Agent Mulder yet? Like, you two should have been in bed from like week number 2. Why are we waiting for the whole movie to come out to find out y'all been getting it, shacking up and getting it on after the show is over? Like,
okay, y'all need to listen to the new audiobooks. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, like it was very obvious they were, schlepping it there for a long time.
Schlepping it.
Yeah, that's Ishabelle's speech.
Yeah. So yeah, I absolutely adore Dana. Okay, one of my favorite, I don't know about anybody else, but one of my favorite episodes of the X-Files is Humbug. When they go and they visit the Carney retirement community, off-season community.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out in the scene where she eats the cricket.
Yep.
She actually ate the cricket. And I don't know why, but that is always like, that gave me like, okay, the utmost respect for Gillian Anderson when I found out that she actually went that far. It's like, how far would you go to make realism part of your role or even part of your writing? Would you actually go skydiving, or would you read accounts of skydiving, before you wrote about somebody going skydiving? When I found out that she actually ate that cricket, which makes me just want to.
Hey,
I'm like, okay. It depends on what I'm doing.
I think that's probably worse.
See, I don't have a problem with the idea of skydiving, but the idea of eating a bug,
I was asking Amy earlier, I'm like, my characters are stuck in a forest, and it's like North American forest, and they have no food, no water, and it's just like, oh, well, they can eat this and this and this, these flowers they can eat, and these berries, and you can eat these bugs. And I'm like, Amy, how do you know all this stuff?
Because I told you, when we went camping with my father, you took no supplies. You built your shelter, you started your fire, you scouted your food, you better hope to God you know how to catch a fish without a fishing pole. I'm telling you, my father, we learned to survive because that man, we would go 9 miles into the middle of the Great Smoky Mountain National Forest, and you would make your camp, and you better hope to God you either could catch your food or walk back home before you died of hunger.
Okay, so I grew up with a Navy SEAL dad. Okay, when we went camping, we had everything. Anything that you could possibly need to survive if the worst could possibly happen. But then we also knew how to catch fish with our bare hands. We knew how to set snares for rabbits. We knew which foods, which plants were edible, which plants were poisonous. I drew the line at eating bugs. I told my daddy, "Oh no, Daddy, I am not eating bugs. I will drink all the river water you want me to. I will eat all of those plants over there, but I will never eat a bug." And guess what? I've never eaten a bug. Well, even accidentally.
When I was 12, maybe 11 or 12, one of my favorite books was The Far Side of the Mountain, in which a boy goes and he survives on his own on the mountain. So we thought that was super cool. And so we never thought anything was weird about it. But we used to sit around the campfire and talk about what we'd do in a zombie apocalypse. So it's you go as far away from the large city centers as you can. You go somewhere with fresh water. We talk about, you put your back to the face of the cliff so nobody can sneak up on you. I mean, we had a plan, straight up plan for apocalypse,
I go into a restaurant and make sure my back is not to a door because of my dad.
Yep.
I make sure that I have complete total view of wherever I am because of my dad. I think my dad may have had a zombie apocalypse going on in his head. So yeah, totally understand that.
So yeah, I mean, we grew up. I mean, we lived in the middle of a North American forest, so I can tell you what you're supposed to eat.
I grew up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the wilds of the Oregon coast. So yeah, I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
But as a kid.
Oh, and I was a Girl Scout.
Yeah. As a kid, that's awesome. It was so much fun. As an adult, I look back and I'm like, I would not. I don't go camping now. Like, don't even ask me. I better get a cabin on a lake if we're going camping.
I would go camping at the drop of a hat, but it better have every single damn amenity, including Wi-Fi and room service.
Yep. I better be roughing it the easy way.
The parameters of camping. Yeah, my husband's like, oh, I used to go camping. I would go in the forest with nothing but a knife, and I'd build a lean-to with pine branches.
I told
we
you
should
you
go
could make
camping.
it
I'm
a
like,
lattice.
Which is man speak for I went and rented a room at the local Ramadan. So.
No, I believe him. Because his parents had like 40 acres of land up north, and yeah. But I'm like, you go do that, and I'll stay with the indoor plumbing.
I'll stay
at the hiking.
In suites.
Can I hike and then hike back to my hotel? You know, I don't mind rafting. I'll get on a tube and raft down the river if I can get out of the tube and get in my car and go back to my hotel.
And get a massage.
Right. I mean, I'm cool with outdoors, but I roughed it for so long. I don't rough it now. No, thank you. But
I think at almost 47, I would probably appreciate a little bit of roughing, but not too much.
Right.
Like, I would need to be within driving distance of civilization.
Yeah.
You know, like, if I can't cook your dinner over the fire, at least let's go into town and get a decent meal.
My husband says we should live off the grid, and I'm like, are you pedaling the bike that's going to power my generator to give me Wi-Fi?
Or keep my Kindle charged?
Can you build me a windmill
or my
run
iPod.
off of hydroelectric energy from the creek next door so that we can have power? Because Amy ain't doing candles.
Look, I need my Kindle, my iPod, and my phone charged. Are you going to help me there?
Right.
Just saying.
Right? Can't read a book, I'm leaving.
Got that right.
Exactly.
Right.
So, speaking of books, we do need to wrap it up and wind down a little bit. And Brenda has agreed to do an ebook giveaway. This is something that we've picked up on our podcasting journey. So, Brenda has agreed to give away an ebook copy of Tempted, her first book in her Nightshade series. In order to be eligible to win, you'll have to make a comment on our blog for episode 63 and ask Brenda a question. We'll leave it open for 30 days. So let's see, March 17 is the last day you can make a comment, and Brenda will reply to you, and then you'll get an entry into the ebook giveaway. So Brenda, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find about you and buy your books?
Okay, you can actually buy my books on Amazon. I am actually Amazon exclusive. Sorry, guys who have Nooks. It just didn't work out. You can find me on Amazon. The name is spelled Tetreault. The name is Tempted. It's the first in the Nightshade series. It's only 99 cents for the ebook. If you're into sexy and steamy paranormals with a little bit of something for everybody, then this is definitely the book for you. It may even be the series for you. Who knows? But anyway, find me on Amazon. You can find out about me and all of the other books available in the Nightshade series. And guess what? There's more coming, hopefully by the end of the year.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you for joining us, Brenda.
Thank you for having me. I've really had a great time.
Me too. And if you like the podcast, listeners, please like, comment, and share. This has been episode number 63 of Focus on Fantasy Romance. Good night.
Good night.